What's up, guys? It is Sunday, so we're going to continue on with the CD collection. I'm looking a little radioactive from all of the natural light pouring in the room. Not necessarily a bad thing. It's always nice to get a little vitamin D. Just going to pick up where we left off last week. We're still in the K section. We were on Creator. My albums are all out of order because I probably should have shown this one first. I have the debut release from Creator. This is Endless Pain. Now, this is a remastered version. It was released in 2017. Kind of a joint remaster with Noise Records, obviously, and BMG Music. As far as remasters go, it's pretty solid. It's in this like digibook. The music sounds fine on it. It does have a lot of bonus tracks. I think there's like 5 bonus tracks, and they went all out with this attached booklet. It is a huge like insert booklet on there. Not a big fan of the way the CDs and that kind of little wallet thing, but other than that, as far as the music on this, it is a very, I mean, their debut album is really good, and the remaster sounds phenomenal. Sometimes remasters can be hit or miss, but the remastered album on that does sound, the mix on it does sound very good. Next up, I have what I feel like is one of the more underrated albums in the Creator discography, and I'm not just saying that because I got it at a Goodwill for $2.99. This is Creator with Cause for Conflict. Sorry, there's a very loud truck outside. I'm going to let it pass. But as I was saying, as far as their discography goes, this one gets overlooked a little bit sometimes, and that's unfortunate because for me it is one of their better full lengths. It's a killer thrash metal album, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with it anyway. And it's super underrated. And as I said, I'm not saying that just because I got it for less than $3 at a Goodwill. Next up, we have Phantom Antichrist. It's hard for me to believe that this album has been out for over 10 years already. I still remember when this one came out, and it was just I had to get my hands on it, and it was like highly touted when it came out as well. A lot of people were into this. Don't hear too many people talking about it that much now, but to be fair, it has been out for over a decade. I still find myself returning to this one sometimes and throwing it in because it is that strong of a release. Next up, we have a live album, and I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of live albums. I believe I got this in Metalhead box. I could be wrong on that. And full disclosure, I've only listened to this once. I mean, it was good for what it was, but it's just not something that I find myself just returning to that often. Obviously, this is the Dying Alive live release. It sounded good. I mean, it was a fun. I think it's 2 CDs, maybe 3. It's 2 CDs and a booklet in here, if I remember correctly. But I mean, it's fun. It's good. I mean, it kind of gives you that live experience. If you're not able to see them live, you kind of get that feeling. But it's got a DVD and 2 CDs. I have not watched the DVD, so there we go. Next up, the full length that came out last year, and I really enjoyed this one. I know it was kind of met with mixed reviews, but I found it to be an absolutely phenomenal release. This is Creator with Hate Uber Alleys. Yeah, I probably butchered that album title, but as far as the album that goes, it was just a killer, thrashy, nice album. Definitely get your hands on it if you haven't. As I said, it was kind of mixed with met with mixed reviews, but I dug it quite a bit. So I know that there's the like Creator purists that only like the early Creator stuff, and I mean, I get it, but I do enjoy a lot of their latter material. Take a swig and we'll continue moving on. I'm going to hit a little chunk of black metal here. First up, we have Krieg with The Church. Krieg is one of those bands that every release that you listen to from them is going to sound different just because the band has had so many different lineup changes. I think every release has pretty much a different lineup as far as the band goes. This one, The Church, is like a EP. It's listed as a MCD or mini album or something along those lines. But this one can be a bit of a tough listen. The production value on this one is super raw. I dig it. There's some good ideas going on it. The music is good, but it just sometimes that just super raw lo-fi production. On this one, it's just to a point. It's so raw that it can take away from the release, unfortunately, at times. But I still enjoy it. It's just sometimes that rawness can be a little taxing to the listener. Then I have the follow-up to that, and it sounds almost like a completely different band, and as far as I know, it could be a completely different lineup. I haven't just done my homework on it just too much, but I know that the band has had so many members come and go, passing through. You even had Blake Judd through one incarnation of this band at one point, so that should tell you enough about it there. But this is the Destruction Ritual full-length, and this one is phenomenal. It has that old 90s black metal vibe going on this. The production value is much better. It still has that raw, murky feel to it, but it's not to a point where it just takes away from everything on the release. So probably my favorite Krieg release. So I believe that band is out of New Jersey. Next up, if you steer away from sketchy black metal, this is probably one that you're going to want to steer away from. I don't know if the band itself has those ideologies, but they have a Burzum cover on here, and they are on a sketchy label. So, I mean, it could go either way. They definitely associate themselves with those. So, just kind of a disclaimer there. This is a Krieg Philosophy with their self-titled release. Pretty decent slab of black metal, but as I was saying, you can see from the label logo there that definitely has some sketchy ties. So if that's something that you want to disassociate yourself and stay away from, this is one that I would probably tell you to steer clear of, just because. Next up, we have one off of Bandrun Recordings. This is Kriegsgrav with Waves of Degradation. I picked up one of the Bandrun Recordings grab bags that they have on their site, or mystery boxes, or whatever they call them on there. And it has like a mix of Bandrun recording materials. This one was in there, pretty solid. Black metal, has this at times post-black. Even has like little hints of doom and death going on at times. As far as the music, I do enjoy it. I probably wouldn't have heard it otherwise, so I'm kind of glad that I picked up that little mystery box and kind of dipped my toes into the Kriegsgrav material with that mystery box. Next up, we have a band. I believe they're out of Italy. This is if you're into black and death metal that kind of has these themes of sacrifices, Nordic tales, sacrifices, cannibalism. If that sounds like something that would kind of light your fire, then you definitely need to check out Krieger Wolf. I found myself super enjoying this band. They have 3 full lengths out. I only have 2 of them, but I love both of the albums that I have. This is their sophomore release entitled Sacrifice to Valisk Yoff. Yeah, very dark album art on that. I know that the glare from my backdrop kind of takes away from that too. It's kind of hard to see when there's some of these darker album covers, but I really like this. This was released on Fallen Angels Productions. Killer stuff here. The third full length that I'm about to show is even a step up from that. This one is entitled Infinite Cosmic Evocation. Yeah, I can never pronounce that word. But as far as the 2 full lengths that I own, this one is my favorite of the 2. But I find both of these albums completely enjoyable. Definitely check them out. If it sounds like something you would be into, you won't be left down. I should have changed out the tray on this one. I'll have to do that as soon as the video is over. Usually I change these out as I get ready for the video, but I was eating egg rolls and procrastinating today, and that one just kind of got overlooked. But as far as the album itself, I'll try to hold that up and see so you can get that album title, since I butchered that horribly. But definitely a stellar release there, and I do highly recommend that one, that band. Next up, if you're into death metal, this one is an absolute essential album that you have to own. This is Christian with Black Forest Domain, death metal out of Brazil. You guys all know Christian. They just have that South American flair, that thrashy flair in their death metal. Did I say black metal earlier? I meant death metal. Yeah, I mean, you guys know this band. You should know this album. If you're into death metal, you absolutely should know this album. It's just an essential release. I feel like if you're into death metal, this is one that you have to have in your collection. Have the sophomore release. This is Apocalyptic Revelation. This is the first Century Media, I guess, pressing that was released domestically of this. I know it was released earlier in 1998 through a different, I guess, a different label. This was the first domestic pressing of this release, and it came through Century Media. Stellar release. I mean, there's very few Christian releases that are out there that I don't like. Next up, we have the third album, and this one is a monster. This is Conquerors of Armageddon. Definitely, probably my second favorite outside of that debut. The debut full length is just it's essential. That's the only way I know to put it. You have to have your hands on that one if you're into this band. This is the 2008 reissue of their third full length. This came out in 2000. This came out actually when I was a senior in high school, and amazing release. This one has a lot of bonus tracks. Sometimes I wish they would do bonus tracks like on a separate disc, like do it, and you could pay a little bit more and get a double disc, because when it finishes the actual album and clicks over to the bonus tracks, it can feel a little disjointed at times. But as far as the album itself is concerned, this is probably my second favorite Christian release. Next up, we have Ageless Venomous from, you guessed it, Christian. I own the majority of their discography. There are a couple of full lengths that I am missing. One of them is probably my least favorite of their releases, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But this one is very good as well. Then we have Works of Carnage. This one kind of shows its age because it has that CD-ROM music video, and that was kind of the rage there probably about 15 years ago, I would have to say, maybe a little bit longer. This one actually came out 20 years ago, so it was a little bit, I guess 2003, that does kind of fit that time frame where it was it was looked at as like cutting edge to have the music video on the CD with the actual album. Next up, we have an EP. This one is entitled Bloodshed. I bought this secondhand, and I have to give credit to the seller on this because it still looks sealed. They just cut the end of the plastic and left it in the actual slipcase, and left the slipcase with the original hype stickers and everything on here. There you have the jewel case part of this, and I had a copy of this already. I purchased a Christian CD lot on eBay, and this one was in there, so I had some duplicates of their albums, and well, I guess this one's an EP. But I liked their their care as far as keeping it intact more than the one that I already own. So it kind of took the place in the collection. As far as the EP goes, it's okay. It's not my favorite Christian material, but I do feel like this EP. I'll re-plastic that up later, but I do feel like this EP is worth owning just because it has their 1993 demo, Unmerciful Order, as a bonus on this, and that alone is worth buying this Bloodshed release. So I don't know if all of the versions of their of this particular EP have that bonus on there, but if they do have that bonus, it is worth having just because it has that Unmerciful Order EP. That's just some old school filthy Christian material, and it is definitely worth the purchase price just to get that. Next up, this is probably the least favorite full length that I own from Christian. This is Assassination. Not sure what they were going for on this one. It's not terrible. Even Christian at their worst is better than a lot of death metal out there as it is, but it just doesn't feel very inspired, I guess is a way to put it. I have this order form that I keep with this one that is pretty neat. It was from Century Media. I like to keep these when I happen to purchase one that has these old school style order forms in there. But this one has like a list of all of the Christian full lengths leading up to this, where you could have ordered them from Century Media back at that point through a mail order. So that's kind of neat and something I like to just keep with this CD. The CD itself probably isn't my favorite, isn't my most reached for and return to of their material, but it's nice to have that little extra in there. Next up, and then following that album, they have another super strong album. It is one of my favorites. This one is Southern Storm. This was just kind of a return to form. I think a lot of people were let down with that Assassination album, and they weren't taking it. They weren't taking that lying down. They weren't having it. They returned back with Southern Storm and melted some faces off. So, yeah. And then following that, we have The Great Execution. It's funny because the hype sticker says for fans of Nile, Immolation, and Sepultura. That's actually a pretty spot-on hype sticker. Sometimes those are a little all over the place, but it's kind of my feeling. If you know Nile, Immolation, and Sepultura, you probably know this band already. So that was just a funny thing for me as far as the hype sticker on there. This was, I think, 2011, somewhere around in that particular area. I guess in that time frame is when this one came out. Let me see if it's got the date on it. It was 2011. So, and then we have Scourge of the Enthroned. That one's really solid as well. I think the one that followed this is like Forged in Fury or something like that. That one I do not own. I'll get it at some point because just for the completest sake. But that one was I didn't like it, and I heard it and I just dismissed it, and I haven't even sought out picking it up. This one super solid, as is most of their material. I will get the follow-up, and I don't have their newest. They had a full-length came out last year as well, and it is another very consistent, strong Christian release. It seems like if they put out an album that a lot of people aren't into, the immediate follow-up to that is like a return to form. And I will say that they're super consistent. I mean, you know what you're getting with a Christian release, and that's why I have so many of their albums in my possession. Next up, we have some brutal death metal. We have some Crotch Ripper with Stalactite Cunt Shrine. I was drawn to this because of that Brad Moore artwork. That's like that older style of his artworks as far as the color scheme goes. A lot of his art is very distinguishable right off the bat. You see it and you're like, man, that's got to be some Brad Moore style artwork. Musically, the music on here, I mean, if you're into brutal death metal, it's kind of grindy at times. It's troll themed brutal death. I guess you could call it brutal death grind. And it's solid. It's decent. It's fun. It came out in 2015, and it has a couple bonus tracks on there as well. Then we have the EP. I believe this one's an EP. Yeah. Don't Anger the Doom God. More kind of trollish, brutal death. I got this one, I think, off of eBay. It's got this kind of DIY kind of look to it there. I was trying to read it, but it's just got the two logos. I was like, this is not a split. Why is there two bands? But the band apparently changed their band logo at some point, so it has two different crotch ripper band logos there. And then I have a split that crotch rippers in, and this is very weird as far as the styles of music on this split. You have Crotch Ripper and Plague Bearer on this, and it's brutal death metal, and then Plague Bearer, which is black metal. And the way that the split is designed, you don't have like the Crotch Ripper portion play through their songs, then go into the Plague Bearer like most splits do. It's like back and forth. Like one track you'll have one of the bands, the next track one's Crotch Ripper, track two's Plague Bearer, and it goes through that way through the duration of the entire split. It's very different. It kind of takes away from it, I think, unfortunately, just going back and forth because the music styles are so different. I'm a very moody person. I want to hear, like, if I'm in a mood for brutal death, I want to hear brutal death, and I don't like the black metal coming in and interrupting, so it can kind of take away from that split, unfortunately. But the music from both bands that they put on that split is pretty solid. Next up, we have a black and thrash project out of Spain, I believe. This is Crossfire with their Burning Torches. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it said Tongues for a second. It threw me for a loop. Burning Torches EP. This was released through Hell's Headbangers. Been out for a little while now. I've had this in my possession for quite some time. I got this on a Hell's Headbangers sale years ago. Really dig it. And then I picked up, finally, their full length. I think I got this in my return back to YouTube after my little break when I showed the Hell's Headbangers big order that I did. I think this one was in there. I know I haven't had it just super long. This is Crossfire with our Rites of Extermination, and this one is just another ripper. Has two sides. You could tell that it was kind of made, designed, and set up as far as the album is concerned with a vinyl mindset going, but the album itself is just it's phenomenal. If you're into black and thrash, definitely check out Crossfire. They do bring in a little death metal flair in their material at times as well. Next up, we have a band out of Italy. This is Cryptonomicon with the Necromanticus. Yeah, I'm surprised I got that out. I was drawn into this by the artwork. Blind bought this off of Paragon Records, and it turned out to be a pretty decent blind buy. Just some ferocious black and death metal, and glad to have that one in the collection. Next up, we have some German black metal. This is Kreis with their Hexen demo. This came out in 2017, and unfortunately the band split up shortly after this, so this was the only release that they put out. It is hand numbered. I have number 16. I believe there were 500 copies of this, so it's not like super rare or anything. I think it's unfortunate that the band split up. I would have liked to have heard some more material from this project, but that's just kind of the way it goes sometimes. But I believe one of the members of Darkened Nocturnal Slaughter Cult, I believe that's the name of the band, was in this as well, or one of the ex-members or something along those lines. And then we have, next up we have Cole with Exile. If you're into the band Balsagoth, then you might be into Cole. It's kind of the reincarnation of Baal Sagoth, that epic black metal, symphonic sounding black metal. Pretty solid. Definitely a very worthy, if you're into that style of black metal, purchase. I could definitely recommend you get your hands on Cole. I know I've been rambling a little bit, but we're going to wrap it up. This is the last one for this. This is Cult of Offensive with Noki Rusnik. Yeah, I blew that. This was released on Deathgasm Records. I got it in a Deathgasm grab bag, and it was a little different because I got a lot of death metal in that grab bag, and to get some black metal. This has a definite no frills 90s Scandinavian black metal feel going on, and I liked it a lot. It was nice as I was listening through the material that I got in that grab bag to kind of mix it up a little bit. So I was hearing so much death metal that at times was beginning to get a little beginning to sound a little blended in the same. To have this very capable black metal release just kind of mixed in and able to listen to through that, definitely it was definitely a palate cleanser, and I think that's one of the reasons that I enjoy this as much as I did, and I find myself returning to it just because it has that it hit me just right when I listen to it. So that's all for this episode. I will be back next week. I have some other stuff going on this week as well that I'll be promoting here pretty soon. That's all for today. I hope you guys have a good week. Stay classy, stay metal, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys very soon.